Okay. All right, so this is number 2 out of our 6 reviews. I will be posting other videos after our 6th review because the last review date is going to be on Thursday, April 12th. So just so that everybody that's live here in person knows and everybody that's watching this video knows, April 12th is the last review session that I'll be doing live. I will be posting other videos, though, for review sessions that if you guys want to go over more stuff in the workbook, you can. But like I said, I'm not going to be able to cover everything in those workbooks, but you guys need to try to do as many of those as you can because in all honesty, the more you practice, the better you're going to be at the test. And obviously I want all of you to pass it this first time and not have to be a repeater. So once again, what's the Algebra 1 EOC? It's state standardized test. It's about 64 questions. And once again, it's not exact. Okay, you may have a 66 question test. It could be 70 questions. But we are pretty certain it's not going to be more than 70 questions. Okay, but for the last couple of years, it's been about 64 of them. So they broke it up in half. There's 2 days. Once again, the first day there is no calculator that you'll be able to use. It does not mean that they're going to be really easy questions to answer. It just means that you're going to do your computations using pencil and paper. Second day, you get to use a calculator. It does not mean that those questions are harder, that you must use a calculator. I'll be honest with you, a lot of the questions on day 2, you don't need a calculator. The only reason why they're giving it to you is because there's going to be some questions that have decimals involved. So some of you are not good at multiplying with decimals or dividing with decimals, so that's why they give you a calculator. If you are taking the Algebra 1 EOC test here at Mosaic Digital Academy's campus, because some people are not. Some people live in a different county, so they're going to be taking it at a different school. If you are coming to Mosaic Digital Academy to take the EOC test, we are going to give you the calculator. So you will have a physical calculator to use here at Mosaic. There is going to be a calculator on the computer. It's called a virtual calculator. It doesn't matter which one you use. They both do the exact same functions. We're not going to give you one calculator that does more stuff than the other one. Okay? So I will show you guys later on how to use the virtual one. It really doesn't matter which calculator to use on day 2. Once again, you might not have to use a calculator at all on day 2, depending on how well your math skills are. So please practice not using a calculator right now. So if you've been using a calculator to get all your answers, stop doing that. Start doing it with pencil and paper. Figure out the answer yourself. Only use a calculator to check your answers, okay? And then again, those that are attending these sessions, I'll be giving you guys credit for it. So if you attend between 4 to 6 questions, sessions. If you attend 4 to 6 sessions, you'll get 100 points. If you attend 3, you get 80. If you attend 2, you get 60. If you attend 1, you get 50. So once again, I'm keeping attendance, so make sure that you're doing that. And then, like I said before, these are now being recorded finally, so I will have these posted later. It does take a while, unfortunately, for Blackboard to convert it, so probably the next day. So in other words, today's Thursday, so tomorrow morning I should have these posted for you. Like I said, I'll have them posted on the main web page for math, and just scroll down a little bit, and you'll see something that says like EOC Review 1, EOC Review 2, stuff like that. So moving on. So once again, those of you that are joining us online, please be respectful. Those of you in the classroom, please be respectful. You should have your workbook. If you don't have a workbook yet, stop by school, pick one up, please. They're just sitting on my desk. I don't have to be here. You don't have to come on Thursday. You can come Monday through Friday. Just tell the front office you're here for Mosaic to pick up a book. If Ms. Christine's here, she'll let you into the lab. Grab a book off my desk. Okay, that's it. That's all you got to do. So once again, please be respectful in the chat boxes. Again, as always, this is why, because there is a student code of conduct for telecommunication devices, so make sure that you're saying appropriate things and whatever. Moving on, here we go. I'm going to show you this every single time we do a review so that you understand once again why it is so important to be on pace or ahead of pace, because the EOC test does cover things up to Module 9. Module 9 is the last module in Algebra 1. You need to have Module 9 done. You don't have to have a final exam done, but you've got to have Module 9 done. Because once again, you need to see every single type of problem that's going to be on the test. If you do not get Module 9 done, you're going to be guessing on a lot of the questions on the EOC test. I don't want you to guess. Okay? I want you to guess maybe on like 5 questions total because your brain forgot what to do. I don't want you guessing on 15 questions because your brain has never seen a problem before. There's a huge difference between guessing what you have seen and you just forgot and what you have never seen before. So please, it is so important to either be on pace or to be ahead of pace in Algebra 1. You cannot fool around. You cannot put this off. You've got to get on pace or ahead of pace. Please bug me. Okay, I have a calendar scheduled for tutoring. It's fine. We work one-on-one together. Nobody else bothers us. We work one-on-one. I can help you answer questions and stuff like that, okay? There's mathnation.com. Go there. There's certified math teachers that will help you out, okay? But you've got to get on pace for Algebra 1 or get ahead of pace. Again, as you can see, 81% of the entire test is going to be covered from modules 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So everything here. Now, if you notice, there is no Module 8 listed, and the reason why Module 8 is not listed is because you need to know what's in Module 8 to understand Module 9. Okay? So that's not to say, like, when you get to Module 8, oh, just go through it and get as quickly done as possible. No. You need to actually understand Module 8 because Module 9 is based on the information from Module 8. If you don't know Module 8, you're not going to know Module 9. Okay? So once again, please get on pace. So Math Nation, again, some of you still have not signed on to it. Please do so. It's actually a really neat website. It's actually very helpful. There's usually math teachers online, I think starting as early as like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning until like 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. So they can help you out when I'm busy. So like for example, today's Thursday. I'm here in person live at Mosaic. I can't help anybody else who's not here. So go to Math Nation, get help. Okay, so once again, you type in mathnation.com, make sure that it says the state of Florida, then click on enter. Then it's going to give you what school do you go to, type in Mosaic, and then it'll show up. Once you start typing in the name Mosaic, you'll see it. And then your login is your 562 number, which now most people have written down somewhere so they don't forget it. And then you have to put the @stlucieschools.org though. It's like an email address. And then your lunch number is your password. Once you do that, you get into Math Nation. You guys will see a screen that looks like this where it has people going hi or whatever. This Algebra 1 wall is what I'm talking about for saying getting help in class by certified teachers. That Algebra 1 wall, you can post questions on there and the teacher will answer it, or other students who happen to be online will answer it also. You guys can even answer other people's math questions. There's a thing called karma points, and if you earn so many karma points, you can actually win prizes. A kid last week in West Palm Beach won an iPad Pro. So that's why it's helpful to be on Math Nation. If you actually help people out by answering questions yourself, you can get karma points and win prizes. Okay? For EOC review, you want to click on this thing that says videos and more. That's where a lot of these workbook videos are coming from, because if you look through the workbook, it'll say video 1, video 2, things like that. This is where you can find it. To get ready for the EOC, once you click on videos, you're going to go down all the way here where it says additional resources. Once you click on additional resources, you're going to look for this thing that says Algebra 1 Bootcamp. And that's going to get you ready for the EOC. So once again, if you've not been on Math Nation, get on it. Start using it. It'll help you out. If I'm busy, Math Nation is a really great site to help you out because, once again, certified math teachers are there. It's not just, some random person going, I think I know how to answer this. So real quickly, answer these 3 questions. So again, in your workbook on the back, there's a notes section, or if you have a piece of paper, put it in your piece of paper. But I want you to answer these 3 math questions. So the first one states, solve for x. You've got 2 parentheses, x plus 5, minus 3 equals 15. I want to know what x is. Number 2, what kind of endpoints do you draw for less than greater than, and for less than or equal to greater than or equal to? And then number 3 says, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in St. Cloud, Florida, Ethan noticed the temperature outside was 72 degrees. The temperature increased at a steady rate of 3 degrees per hour. At what time was the temperature 81 degrees? So those are the 3 questions I want you to answer, please, right now. And I will set a timer. We'll give you, I'll give you like 3 minutes. And then we'll give you 2 minutes. We'll do 2 minutes. Yep, 2 minutes. Dude. So once again, you should know most of these. That's why I'm giving you 2 minutes. By the way, Ariana, I don't think I said hello. Justin and Marley, I don't think I said hello to you guys either. So hi. Hope you're doing well. Do that. I'm just saving the roster real quickly. So once again, you've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. So you're answering number 1, you're solving for x. What does x equal? Number 2, I want to know what kind of an endpoint do you draw for a less than or a greater than symbol, and for a less than or equal to greater than or equal to symbol. So that means like graphing, by the way, You're wondering what it means by endpoint. That means if you were to graph a problem that had an inequality, what kind of an endpoint do you draw? And then question number 3 says at 1 o'clock, Ethan noticed the temperature was 72 degrees. The temperature increased at a steady rate of 3 degrees per hour. What time was the temperature 81 degrees? And the other reason why I'm putting on a timer is because we got to be out of here before 11 o'clock because my live people have to go to lunch. And again, don't put any answers in this chat box just yet. Please wait. And again, if you don't know the answer, that's fine. Just try to do your best. Write down at least what you think you maybe should start doing. You don't have to know the answers, but you should at least have an idea of maybe where to start or at least something of what to do. So once again, question number 2 is if I asked you to draw me your answer, an inequality problem on a number line, how would you draw it? Like what would you draw for the symbols? That's what it means for question number 2. All right, so time is up. So everybody that is online, please give me your answers for number 1. What did x equal? So just put answer number 1. Nope, but thank you for trying. No, it's not 6.5. I don't know, maybe. So let's see here. So did everybody answer question number 1? We got Brooke, we got Marley. All right, okay. So first things first, I would suggest this. If you notice, the number 2 is attached to the parentheses. So don't do anything with the 2 first. I would move what's not attached with the parentheses. So I would move the 3 first. Because once again, you want to get the constants separated from everything else. So the number 3 is called a constant. Hold on, guys. I got to use my. I got to use a pad real quickly. So we got a 3. So then you get 2 parentheses x minus 5 equals 18. And I do apologize. I'm using a mouse, so the writing's not going to be great. Okay, now. This is what I would do next. Everyone's different, and that's fine, but I'm just letting you guys know what I would do. I would not do distributive property. I would not do 2 times x and 2 times 5 and write 2x minus 10 equals 18. The reason why is, to me, that's a waste of time. I would get rid of the 2 next. The reason why is this. Once again, to get rid of something, you do the opposite. I know that the number 2 is outside the parentheses, which means to distribute, which means multiply. What is the opposite of multiplying? So if I divide by 2, the 2 goes away. I'm left with x minus 5 equals 9. That's the other reason why I wouldn't do distributive property, because a lot of people forget that you have to multiply the x and the 5 by 2. Okay? So, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. It says plus 5. Haha, nobody corrected me. So see, this is why it's so important to check your work. So, I would subtract 5 on both sides for the last step, and you'll get x equals 4. By the way, guys, I make mistakes. I'm a human being. You guys can correct the teacher. It's quite all right. Because I'm making the same mistakes some of you guys are going to make. So once again, if you wanted to do the multiplying part, you would have 2x plus 10. Sorry, not minus 10. You'd have 2x plus 10 equals 18. Subtract 10, you get 2x equals 8. Divide 8 by 2, you get 4. Either way, you still get the answer of x equals 4. I just wouldn't do the distributive part because then that way I don't screw it up. I don't forget to multiply something. Next one, what kind of an endpoint do you draw for a less than or greater than? So just that first part I want everybody to answer in the chat box. What kind of an endpoint do you draw for less than or greater than? So we're just answering the first part. What kind of an endpoint do you draw for less than or greater than? You're close. It's one of those. So I'll give you guys a huge chance. Your answer is either going to be open circle or closed circle. I don't know why somebody in math came up with those phrases, but they did. I would just say circle or a dot. Because to me, an open circle just means a circle. You can't really have an open circle because a circle goes all the way around. Open circle to me means that you would like not connect it. But you have open circle or closed circle. Closed circle is a dot. Open circle is just a circle. So everybody hopefully does know that for less than or greater than, it's just a circle. So that would be called an open circle. The less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, when you see the little line underneath, that's when you know you're going to draw a closed circle. So to me, I would call that a dot. But the mathematical term is closed circle. So open circle is for either less than or greater than, it doesn't matter which one. Closed circle is when you see the little bar underneath it, which means less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, because it means it includes that answer. If you don't see a bar, then that means it does not include the answer. So like if I wrote like x is greater than 4, if we're thinking about money, that means if it's $4.01, that would be an okay answer. But if it's $4, that doesn't work because it's not greater than 4. But if I did $4.01, that would work because it's greater than 4. So once again, no line underneath the inequality means an open circle. A line underneath the inequality means closed circle. Last one, number 3. What time was the temperature 81 degrees? So in the chat box, please give me the answers, and I will talk to everybody else in here.
I originally got 5 the other night. Yeah, I was too late for that.
Yeah, now some people are saying I didn't have time to do it. That's fine. I'm just timing you because, once again, I'm trying to get out of here before 11 o'clock. But also, when you guys take the EOC test, you can't be spending forever on one question either. Just a test-taking tip for you guys, even the people that are here in person. If you're spending a lot of time trying to figure out one question, mark it and move on. Okay? If you can't figure out where to start on a problem like within 10 seconds, move on. Just make yourself a little, like you can flag the question, so just flag it and move on. Because you don't want to sit there for 5 minutes trying to answer one question that you don't know how to answer, because then you get frustrated, you get upset and other things, and then your mind kind of like blocks yourself out from answering all the other questions. If you can't figure out where to start, I'm not saying if you don't know what the answer is, but if you don't even know where to start in about 10 seconds, mark it and move on to the next question. You guys can do that, by the way, when you take the EOC test. Day 1, you get, I think it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours to take the test unless you get extended time. But for most of you, you get like, I think 1.5 hours or 2 hours to take the test. Just click the next button, go to the next question. You can go back and forth through all the questions. It's okay. All right? So, once again, if you don't know what to do, move on. So the trick to this problem was this. It says it's a steady rate of 3 degrees per hour. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to figure out, well, what's the difference? You're at 81 degrees that you want. You started at 72. That's a 9-degree difference. It changes at a rate of 3 degrees per hour, so divide that by 3. That means you have 3 hours. All you got to do is add 3 to 1, you get 4. Now, if you wanted to, you could have used your hand, and you could have put one finger up and said, okay, that's 72 degrees. Then you could, then you go, okay, it's at 3 degrees rate, so add 3 to 72, you get 75. Add 3 to 75, you get 78. Add 3 to 78, you get 81. I don't care how you did it, but I'm just letting you know mathematically this is how you do it. Because on the EOC, they might ask you to write a mathematical equation for it. So you can't just go, I use my fingers. Okay, so you do need to know how to do this mathematically. It was a simple problem, but you do have to know how to do it mathematically also. So the trick was figure out what's the difference, divide that by the rate. The rate was 3, so divide by 3. That tells you how many hours. Add the hours to the original time. You get 4 p.m. All right, so now go to page 25 in the workbook, please. Got tongue twisted, I'm sorry. So please go to page 25 in the workbook, because what I want you guys to understand now is you should be able to look at an algebraic expression, because that's what this is called. When you see numbers and letters, this is called an algebraic expression. You should be able to see an algebraic expression and know in your head what to do for the steps. So before even working the problem out, you should know what you have to do. Yeah. So once again, you should know. So if you guys notice, if you guys look at the screen for a minute, so that, I'm talking to the people that are live. Everybody who's online is obviously looking at the screen. But people who are live, if you look at the screen, if you notice, I blocked out all the other questions and the answers, because I really want you to understand, you should be able to look at the problem and know what to do mathematically before you even start solving it. Okay, now, everyone goes, oh my God, it's a fraction. I don't know how many times I've talked to each one of you about this. Fractions are the easiest. What do you always get rid of in a fraction? Denominator. Okay, now, denominator means to divide. What's the opposite of dividing? So I already know for this problem, I'm going to multiply. I already know that's how I'm going to solve it. I'm going to multiply. That's how easy it is. Next one. I've told you guys this all the time. Always get rid of the constant first. Constant means the number without a variable. So which number, the 2 or the 7, does not have a variable? The 7. And in math, how you move something is you do the opposite. What's the opposite of adding? Subtracting. So I already know now for this problem, the first step is going to be to subtract. So I'm just going to write an S. But then once again, now I still have this 2x. Whenever you see a coefficient, that's what the number next to a letter is. Whenever you see a coefficient next to a variable, what are you doing? Nope. You're multiplying. So whenever you guys see a number next to a letter, there's nothing in between, so it's just 2x. That means you're multiplying. Again, solving an equation means to do the opposite. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So that means I'm going to first subtract, and then I'm going to divide. So I already know that's how I'm going to solve it. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that's how I'm going to solve it. Okay, so once again, you should be able to look at a problem and know exactly what to do. So now I don't want anybody in the group live to say the answer. I want everybody in the chat box. Tell me what to do first for this problem. What do I do for number 3? So everybody live, you can like write down the answer, have it in your head, but just don't say it out loud, because I want the people that are online to be able to answer real quickly. So what do I do for question number 3? Do I add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Because that's the beauty of math. There's only 4 things you can ever do. There's not like some mythical fifth mathematical thing. You can only add, subtract, multiply, or divide. All right, good. So majority of you are answering. Once again, everybody needs to answer, but majority of you are answering, and yep, you should be dividing. So you should all know that you're going to divide 23 by 4. Now, here's a trick for the EOC. That's going to be a decimal. Okay? They may want you to write it in fraction form. Don't forget that. Math people love having you answer questions in fractions. Okay? Not everything's decimals. So on a non-calculator day, you're going to have to tell me that the answer is 23 over 4. Okay? If you know your math really well, you could also write it as 5 3/4, because that's a mixed number. But 23 over 4 is completely okay. That's an acceptable answer. It's called an improper fraction. That's an okay answer. So you could write it as 23 over 4. You could write it as 5 3/4. Okay? But once again, on a non-calculator day, they're not going to give you the decimal. They're going to ask you for the fraction. But yeah, if it was a calculator day, then you could do 5.75. All right, now question number 4. Oops, sorry. I stepped on somebody's foot. Question number 4, and the best part of that just got recorded. Question number 4, everybody should be able to tell me what to do. What are we going to do? Add, or addition. Okay? So I already know that this is going to be addition. Boop. Okay, now, question number 5, there's multiple ways of doing this one. So it depends on how your brain works. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you right now, the first thing I would do is divide. The second thing I would do is subtract. For other people, they're going to say multiply first, then subtract, then divide. So some people are going to tell me to do 3 steps. I'm going to tell you to do 2. What do you think? Why do you think I'm saying to divide? What number should I divide by first? So in case you guys couldn't hear what somebody said in class, she was saying divide by 4 first because it's outside the parentheses, and if you see something outside parentheses, it means multiply. The opposite is divide. So I would tell you guys to do that. I would tell you to divide first, so I would do a D. I would divide first, and then I would subtract, so that's an S, and then I would subtract by 5. Once again, some other people are going to say, nope, multiply by 4 first, then subtract 20, because 4 times 5 is 20, but you have to move it, then divide by 4. So that's a 3-step process. I like doing less processes. I like doing as short steps as possible. So to me, it's divide, subtract, done. Other people, it's going to be multiply, subtract, then divide. I don't care because guess what? It's the same answer. So it's whatever you want, okay? Next one. You've got 10 plus x equals 79. Now, here's the trick. If you notice, what did they put first this time? But what's the mathematical terminology for the number 10? Anybody know in the chat box? What do you actually call 10? What do you call a number in math? Number with no variable. What is that called? Ooh, everybody in the chat box is now quiet. I like that. Does anybody remember what it's called? What's a number without a letter? I'm asking the people first in the chat box. Okay, so you should remember the definitions called constant. And the reason why I want to go over these words is because you're going to see this on the test, and they're going to ask you some questions like this also. So you want to make sure you know these mathematical terms. So 10 is the constant. It's still the same work. Okay, now, for some of you, if it helps you out, rewrite the problem. Just rewrite question number 6 as this. X plus 10 equals 79. It's quite all right to just rewrite the problem. I still have my 10 as a positive 10. I still have my x as a positive x. I can rewrite the problem. And in case you forgot, that's called the commutative. Commutative property is when you switch around the order. Associative is when you move the parentheses. So commutative property. So it's still the same thing. And now everybody should be able to tell me what are you going to do. So in the chat box, tell me what to do. What am I going to do to solve this problem? I'm going to do one thing and one thing only. Yep, we're going to subtract the 10. So this is subtraction. So again, we're not solving any of these problems. I'm just having you realize what you should be doing in your head before you even start solving this. You should be able to look at the problem and know already what the steps are in your head. Okay, so question number 7. They wrote it differently again, but everybody should know what to move. And I'm going to give you 10 seconds to figure it out. So I'm going to count 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mr. Nathan, what should we move? He said we should add 8, and he is absolutely correct. The opposite of a negative is a positive, so positive means addition. We're going to add 8, so that means we're going to do addition. So minus a minus is a what? Is a positive, so it's adding. Okay, now, no, you're adding 8. You're not adding a negative. You're just adding 8 to both sides. That's the opposite of negative 8. Okay, now number 8, if you notice, is a little bit more complicated. Because now, if you notice, there is a number outside the parentheses, but there's also an additional variable, and it's an x. Now, if you notice, inside the parentheses is a what? Is an x. So you have the same variable. That means like terms. If you have a problem like number 8, do not divide first. If you divide by 2, you're going to screw it all up, because what's going to happen is this. In math, if you change one thing, you have to change everything. If I were to divide by 2, I'd have to also divide the 7x by 2. I don't want to do that. That's a pain in the butt. Plus, the number 9 on the very far end is an odd number. I don't want to divide 9 by 2. That gives me a decimal. So for this problem only, for problem number 8, because of the way that it's written, I would say the first thing you'd want to do is multiply. Because you would want to multiply the 2 with the x and with the 8. Then the second step I would say would be to add. Because you then want to add the 2x to the 7x and get like terms together. Then the third step would be to subtract the 16, because 2 times 8 is 16. And then the last step is divide, because you're going to be dividing by 9. So there's actually 4 steps to this problem. Because once again, I don't want to divide first because it's going to make all the problems decimals and stuff like that, and it's a pain in the butt. Okay? But now you know exactly what to do for all these answers. So that is why I wanted to go over it real quickly. Let's see here. Where is delete? There it is. So now we already know all the answers to these. So the first one was multiplication, yay. The second one was, let's see here, addition property. Well, yeah, basically it's the addition property of equality. You're just adding the opposite of -7. And then let's see here, and then yeah, and then let's see here. That one's division, which is basically you can do multiplication property because you're multiplying by 1/4. Don't forget division's multiplying, but it's just multiplying by a fraction. The second one is addition property again. Let's see here. The fifth one is multiplication because you're multiplying by 1/4 and then you're adding by -5. The sixth one is addition because you're adding by the opposite. Number 7 is addition because you're adding by the opposite. And then number 8 is the multiplicative one, the addition one, and the subtraction one. And then, oh wait, well we're also doing commutative for the other two. Sorry, because we switched the order. And then, let's see here, and then distributive property. So, just remember, addition property of equality means that you're either adding a positive or a negative, so that means subtraction would just be the addition property but with a negative. And then don't forget that multiplication. Division is also multiplication. It just means you're multiplying by a fraction. Because when you multiply by a fraction, you put a number on the denominator. Denominator means to divide. Yay! All right, so now that we got all that done, you should now be able to figure out this problem. So I will give you, I don't know what, a minute to figure out this problem. So now you're on page 25 again. So you're still on page 25. It's where it says try it. And it is 1/2 x plus 6 equals 12. You guys should know what to do for this problem, what to move first and then what to move last. So once again, 1/2 x plus 6 equals 12. You should know what to do first. You should then know what to do second, and you should be able to get me the answer. Don't forget that 1/2 x is the same thing as writing x over 2. So x over 2 is the exact same thing as writing 1/2 x, if that kind of gives you a hint of what to do. So once again, 1/2 x plus 6 equals 12. I'm giving you a minute to solve this problem. You should actually be done by now, but if you're not done, that's fine. But you shouldn't spend more than a minute to do it. That's all right.
Yeah, and then you just answer.
So once again, 1/2 x is the same as writing x over 2. So in case you don't know, 1/2 x is the same as writing x over 2. Time is up, so you should mostly be done. So I will ask Miss Jenna, what did you move first? Yep, she subtracted 6 on both sides first. You always want to move the constant first. So then you get x over 2 equals 6. And then Miss Ellie, what should we always move last?
The
division thing. So the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So you're going to multiply the 2 and the 6. So that means the answer is 12. So the funny part is the answer is what it's supposed to equal anyway. So that's the funny part.
I thought like you took the fraction and then you made 12 with the second fraction. One part would make it 6 over 1.
Nope. If you want to make 12 a fraction, it would be 12 over 1. And then if you multiply by 2, you'd have to multiply everything by 2. So
I like divided 6 by 1/2 because I didn't put that across the top.
Ah, okay. Nope. It's all right. We learned. Now we're good to go. Okay. Now you go to page 26, and it's called Beat the Test. I highlighted the important information because, once again, you do not have to read every single thing in a math word problem. Please understand, they're going to give you sentences in the math word problem that are not important. So I highlighted what was important. What's important to know is this. There's 480 students who said soccer was their favorite. So that's important to know. So soccer was their favorite. So 487 students. They said that soccer was their favorite sport. It says that represented 17 fewer students than 3 times the number of students who like basketball. So what that means is this. Okay, so now I know that the 487 students represented, if you notice here it says 3 times the number of basketball So 3 times the number of basketball, which would be 3B. And then it says represented 17 fewer. 17 fewer means minus 17. So now I have my math problem. And let me just move my 1 a little bit and move my 7 a little bit. So soccer has 487 students. So that's why I wrote S equals 487, because I first want to make sure everybody understands that soccer is 487, okay? But then it says that represented. So that means what does the 487 represent? That's why I wrote 487 equals. Is everybody with me so far? Now, what does it say it represented? 17 fewer. That means subtract 17. It does not mean 17 minus. Okay? If you think of money, that's like saying I have $20, but Ellie Sexsmith here has 17 fewer dollars. That does not mean you do 17 minus 20. She can't owe me money. Okay, 17 fewer means you're going to subtract 17 from 20. So if I had $20 and she had 17 fewer dollars, you would do 20 minus 17 in your head. That's why it's minus 17 is at the end of the problem. Then it says 3 times the number of people who like basketball. Well, do we know how many people like basketball yet? No. So that's why I gave it a variable. I did B for basketball. 3 times, that means 3B. So that's why I wrote 487 equals 3B minus 17. Now, it asks for how many students like basketball. So, Mr. Jeffrey, we're obviously solving for the letter B. Which number do you think we should move? Should we move the 487 or should we move the 17? Move the 17. Thank you, sir. So everybody should know now what to do. You're going to do the opposite. So that means you're going to add 17 to both sides. So I'm going to do it down here over on the side because I don't have any more room. So now I've got 504 equals 3B. And by the way, this could show up on the non-calculator section. Okay? So now I've got 504 equals 3B. Mr. Bryson, what's the last step? Now I got 504 equals 3B. No, I'm not going to divide 3 by 504. There you go. I'm going to divide 504 by 3. So I'm going to have 504 divided by 3. And it does, by the way, I know a lot of people were thinking the same thing, like, why is he picking on Mr. Bryson? It's blah, blah. No, it's just the way he worded it. I know what he meant, but the way he worded it is incorrect. If you say divide 3 by 504, that means the 3 goes on top, the 504 goes on the bottom. We're going to get a really small decimal. We don't want a really small decimal. So it's 504 divided by 3. Same thing. You should be able to do this without a calculator. You can't. That's not a big deal, but you should be able to. Okay? And in case you forgot how to do division, you would write 504. You would put it in a box. You'd put a 3. You should all know that 3 goes into 5 one time. You then get a 20. You should know that 3 goes into 20 6 times. That gives you 18. And then you get 24. 3 goes into 24 8 times, so you get 168.
Or, as you said a little while ago, the test shouldn't be decimal, so you can just write it as a fraction, 504 over 3.
Yep.
This is what I did.
Yep. So you could do it. What Mr. Bryson was saying, those that they can't hear that are online. He was saying, like, or you could just write it as 504 over 3. That is an equivalent answer. They would accept that. Okay, but it also depends on how they give you the answer box. There might not be a fraction key available on the answer when they give you the question. If there's no fraction key, then you can't leave it as a fraction. You have to figure it out. So it depends. If you see the / key, which means a fraction, then you could write it as a fraction. If you don't see that key when they give you this kind of a question, then that means you got to do the whole number. You got to figure it out. So you get 168. Okay, page 29 now. So now we're doing the try it on page 29. I told you we're not doing every single page in the book. Jumping around because I'm just trying to cover what the most important sections. So it says find the solution set to each inequality. So we've got 4 parentheses x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 2 parentheses 2x minus 2. Now, because this problem has 2 constants outside the parentheses, I would do the distributive property. I wouldn't try to divide. Okay, so for this problem, I would do the distributive property first, because then it's going to make it a little bit easier to answer. So I'll give you guys, I don't know, like 2 minutes to figure out how to do this one. And then everybody that's doing this online, I'll ask you to put your answer in the chat box when the time is up. So for right now, figure it out, but then I will ask everyone in the chat box to put their answers in first, and then I'll ask the live people. Good. Nope. Nope. All right, time is up. Nope, but thank you for trying. I do appreciate that a lot of people are trying. They're getting the wrong answers, but that's okay, because guess what? At least you're trying. Doesn't matter if you got the wrong answer or not. So, everyone in the chat box, tell me, what did you get for an answer? What did you get for an answer in the chat box? All right, so I want everybody that's watching online to please put your answers in the chat. I don't care if your answer is right or wrong. I'm not going to tell you if it's right or wrong. I just want to see what you got for an answer, because this is a really good problem. I want to see what everybody got for an answer. So just put in the chat box what you got for an answer. If you didn't get an answer, then just be honest. Say, I didn't get an answer. All right, so here we go. I told you guys before, you should have used distributive property. So you should have had 4x plus 12 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 4. Now, right away, you should notice that this 4x looks exactly the same as that 4x. They are the same exact coefficient, which means the number 4. They're the same exact variable, which means the letter x. They're the same sign. They're both positive. If you ever see the exact same coefficient with the exact same variable attached to it, with the exact same sign, they're going to cancel out. Because if you subtract, either, it doesn't matter which 4x you subtract. If you subtract 4x from either side, and this is where a lot of people make a mistake, is 4 minus 4 is 0. 0 times x is still 0. You don't have a letter x in this problem. There is no variable. You cannot tell me what x equals. There's no variable. So it's 12 is greater than or equal to negative 4. Okay, now some people here were telling me, well, 16 is greater than or equal to 0. That's also correct, but most math people, most math teachers, this is what they're going to look to see, is 12 is greater than or equal to negative 4. Now, I asked one of the students in here, I said, is 12 greater than negative 4? And they said yes. This is what we call a true statement. So if you are ever given a true statement, so here's the notes you want to write down. This is a true statement because 12 is greater than -4. It makes sense. If you're ever given a true statement, you actually have a very long answer. It's 3 words. It's infinitely, I'm trying to write as fast as I can so that we're not wasting time, many solutions. What that means is this. It does not matter what number you plug in for the letter X, the answer will always be a true statement. So it doesn't matter what number if you can say X is 50 billion, it's going to still end up with the same answer. Because once again, the variables, which means the letter X, the 4X and the 4X, those variables will always cancel each other out. It does not matter what number you plug in for X. That's why the answer is called infinitely many solutions. That is called a true statement. So once again, the notes you want to write down is, if the problem makes sense, it is a true statement, which then 4 means you have infinitely many solutions. Now, if, Isabel, pick any number you want. Okay. If you had an answer like this, let's say you had 6 is greater than or equal to 12. Everyone should know that's not true. That is called a false statement. And I'm not going to finish writing the word statement because I'm going to run out of room. So that's a false statement. If you ever have a false statement, then the answer is no solution. Because what that means is no matter what number you plug in, you can never solve it. So if you get a false statement, it is no solution. If you get a true statement, that is called infinitely many. And if you get if you just get X is greater than, then that's the answer. So if the X's cancel out, you're either going to have an infinitely many solutions answer or you're going to have a no solution answer. It just depends if the equation, I would say if the equation makes sense. That's what we mean by a true statement. If the equation makes sense, it's a true statement, infinitely many. If the equation doesn't make sense, it's a false statement, which means no solution. So I purposely chose this problem because I wanted to see you guys get confused. Because you need to understand that you can cancel out variables. Okay? When you subtract 4x minus 4x, you don't get 1x. You get 0x, and 0 times anything is 0. That means the x's cancel out. Next one, page 29 again. But now it's question number 2. So it says, Stephanie has been given a new job. Notice there's all these words in it. We don't care. I underline what was important. There's a fixed salary of $500 per week. So we've got a fixed salary of $500 per week, so I would write that as 500W. Or a salary of $200 per week. So we have $200 per week plus a 5%, which is 0.05, commission on her weekly sales. Oh, crud. We'll just use X. So it says, which solution set among the options below represent the dollar amount of sales that she has to generate each week in order for option with the commission to be a better choice? Okay, so how do we figure this out? Well, this is actually kind of easy. If you figure out for just 1 week, okay, so if we just do 1 week, in 1 week she'll earn $500 from the first option. Okay, but the second option, okay, we want it to be a better choice, which means it has to be greater than $500. So in 1 week, she's going to earn $200, but then it's 5% of whatever her commission is. Okay? So that's how I would write the equation. Now, if this looks confusing to you, guess what? You can use the commutative property and switch it around. You could write the equation like this. You could write 200 plus 0.05x, and once again, x means the commission, is greater than 500, because I'm just doing after 1 week, because that's all we really care about. It doesn't matter how many weeks she's working at the job. The first week she has to make more money with the commission sales, then it doesn't matter, you know. So that's how I would write it. You can do it either way because it's going to still be the same exact thing. Everybody should know we're going to move the number 200. Everyone should know that. We're moving 200. So, Ms. Wenger, if we move the 200, are we going to add or subtract it? Yep. So we're going to subtract 200 on both sides. I'm just saying Ms. Wenger because I have an Allie and I have two Ellies, and I don't want them getting confused if I say Ellie and I meant Allie or Allie and I meant Ellie. So that's why I'm doing that. And everybody that's watching online is like, what? And yes, I have 3 people that have names that almost all sound the same. So now you're left with 0.05 because once again, 5% is written as 0.05. Please understand, 5% means you move the decimal point 2 places to the left. If you wrote 0.5x, that is 50%. Big no-no. So now 0.05x has to be greater than 300. Again, everyone should know what to do mathematically next. Mr. Nathan, what should I do next with the 0.05? Because you should know that's the number you have to move. It's the number with the variable. How do I move 0.05? Not subtract. So you got 3 other choices. Divide, because whenever you see, even if it's a decimal, whenever you see a number next to a letter, that means multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is divide. Does that make sense? Okay, now, my people that are watching online, you have access to a calculator. My people in my classroom don't unless they brought their phones with them. So everybody online, if you could please in the chat box tell us what is 300 divided by 0.05, I would appreciate it. I know what the answer is, but I just want to make sure everybody else knows it. So you would type in 300 divided by 0.05. Don't forget that 0.05. That is extremely important. Cool beans. So everybody is getting 6,000, which is the correct answer. So we all know now that the answer is D. The sales have to be greater than $6,000 for the commission job to be worth it. So what that means is this, real life scenario. You're offered a job like this. By the way, like a car dealer. If you work at a car dealership, you get commission based on what, the amount of price of the car that you sell. That's why car dealers are always trying to sell you all the options to a car when you're like, I just want 4 wheels and I want 4 wheels and a steering wheel. That's it. And they're like, oh, but it's got DVD players and it's got surround sound and electronic seats and, air conditioned seats. They're trying to sell you all those options because the more that they sell you, the more money they get back in commission. Okay? So, let's pretend this was a job that they could have at, I don't know, they could earn $500 a week working at, I don't know, like the grocery store, or they could get the sales job at a car dealership. If they can sell at least $6,000 worth of cars every week, then the commission job is worth it. If they can't sell $6,000 worth of stuff, it's not worth it because they're not going to make enough money. So that's what it means. So the answer to this one is 6,000. All right, we're almost done. Page 34 now. So on page 34, again, I highlighted what was important because, once again, there's all these other words that's in here. We really don't care. So it says, Kent played on his PlayStation 4 for 5 fewer hours than Dennis. So I'm going to say Kent. Now, it says he played for 5 fewer hours than Dennis. So, Ms. Sexsmith, what does that mean mathematically when it says 5 fewer? Is that adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? She said subtracting, and she is correct. Now, let's ask Kayleen. You're online. Let's ask Kayleen. Kayleen, would I do 5 minus D, which means Dennis, or would I do D minus 5? Which one do you think I would do, Kayleen? Kayleen, are you there? Kayleen, can you hear me? Can you hear me at all? It's being recorded, so here's my horrible singing voice now forever. I just want to know if it's 5 minus D or D minus 5, that's all. Which one should we do? 5 minus D or D minus 5? Other way around. When it says 5 fewer, it's the English. We have a weird English language. Trust me. When you see 5 fewer, that means it's really -5. So whatever the hours that Dennis played, you're going to subtract 5 hours from that. So it's going to be D minus 5, but it's okay. I gave you 2 choices. You picked the wrong one. Now you know the right choice. You won't make the mistake again. So hey, we learned. Woohoo! And that's all we want to do is we just want to learn from our mistakes. It is absolutely okay if you guys make mistakes. That's why I'm here to help you out. Because when you take the test, I don't want you to make a mistake. Now, the next thing it says, Joy played 6 hours more than Dennis. So, Miss Mallory, what does more mean?
Adding.
So, she said it means to add. So, I'm going to ask, William, I know you're sick, but if you could type in the chat box, would I do D plus 6, or would I do 6 plus D? So I'm going to write J for Joy. But do I do D plus 6 or 6 plus D? I'm asking William. So if William, if you can hear me at all, let me know which of those 2 choices it is. Same thing, if you get it wrong, it's not a big deal. You're going to learn from your mistake. If you get it right, woohoo. Either way. So which choice do you want to pick, William? Do you want to do D plus 6 or 6 plus D? Thank you, Mr. William. He said D plus 6. Now, here's the trick. I actually gave William a trick question. When it comes to addition, it does not matter what order you add because you're still putting the 2 numbers together. Subtraction, though, it does matter. So for Kayleen, it did matter. Because for subtraction, depending on what number you have that you're subtracting from, you're either going to get a positive or a negative answer. When it comes to addition, it doesn't matter because either way, you're going to still get the same sign. So, for addition, it doesn't matter if you do D plus 6 or 6 plus D, but for subtraction, it does matter. Now, it says, altogether, the 3 friends played a total of 205 hours. So, altogether means what, Mr. Jeffrey? So, Jeffrey, what does altogether mean? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Add! So, guess what? We're going to add everybody together. Well, here's the one thing. You also have to include Dennis. Dennis is our 3rd person. So how would I write this problem? I would write D plus. Then Kent, D minus 5 plus. Joy, D plus 6. And they all played for 205 hours. So if you notice, my equation, this is called an algebraic expression because we have variables. My equation has a whole bunch of letter D's. It has a bunch of numbers with an equal sign. So now I'm going to ask Mr. Bryson, what can I do with all 3 of those letter D's? Combine them together and you would get 3D is what he said if you can't hear him, people that are online. And he's absolutely correct because if you notice it says D plus D plus D. That's the same thing as saying 1D plus 1D plus 1D. Well, 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So I really have 3D. Let me ask Brooke, what can I do with the minus 5 and the plus 6? So I'm asking Brooke online, what can I do with the minus 5 and the plus 6? Thank you, Ms. Brooke. You are correct. If you add the 6 plus the negative 5, that means 6 minus 5, you get a positive 1. Now, you have a very simple equation to answer. 3D plus 1 equals 205. Really simple. Okay, so, Ms. Wenger, what number will we move first? You're going to move the 1 first, and then what are we going to do with that 3 at the very end? And she said in her very nice accent that she's practicing, I guess. She goes, you will move the 1, and then you will divide, which I guess is supposed to be a French accent. I have no idea, because I don't do accents. So you're going to subtract 1 from both sides, which means you're going to get 3D equals 204. So let me move some stuff around so that you guys can see what I'm doing here. Whee! And there we go. All right, so now you're going to have 3D equals 204. Same thing, this could be on the no calculator day. You should know how to divide 204 by 3. Cannot just leave it like that. I do not know anybody who goes, dude, I just got done playing 204 over 3 hours of Call of Duty. That doesn't make sense. Okay, no one would say that. So you should know this answer. Everyone should know how many times 3 goes into 20. 6 times, because 6 times 3 is 18. What's 20 minus 18? 2. Put a 4, you get 24. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So everyone should know this answer because we just did it in our head. It's 68 hours. So now, are we done? Don't want anybody live say yes or no yet. I want everybody in the chat box to tell me yes or no. Are we done? Did we answer this question? All right, so Mr. Marley, why are you saying no? Because you are correct. We're not done yet. We did all this work and we're still not done. So Mr. Marley in the chat box, can you please tell me why we are not done yet? Because you are correct, sir. We are not done. Why are we not done? Okay, so Marley is correct. We're not done yet because it says how many does each person play, which is why these 2 equations up here are so important. Dennis played 68 hours. Kent did 5 less. So you're going to do 68 minus 5, which means Kent did 63. Then Joy did 6 hours more, which means you have to add 6 to 68, which means you get 74. So this is actually a 3-part answer. You have Kent at 63, Joy at 74, and then down here you have Dennis at 68. If you add all 3 of those together, you should get an answer of 205, which is the total number of hours they played. So once again, it's really important to read the entire last sentence of a problem because it'll tell you what we're doing. Yay! All right, I want you to answer these 2 quick questions, then we're done for the day. So I want you to solve for the letter y. So you have 8y plus 4 equals 7y minus 2. I want to know what does y equal. And then the last one says your class raised funds for the end of the year trip to an amusement park. It costs $150 to rent a school bus for the day, plus $34 per student for admission. If your class raised $1,000, how many students can attend? So the second one, you have to write an equation and solve it. The first one, we gave you an equation. You have to solve it. All right, so everybody give me the answer to the first problem. What does y equal? What did everybody get for y equal? Okay, I heard the live people. I'm waiting for the... I love the fact that everybody in the live one's like -6, -6, negative... I understand. You only say it once. I want the chat people. Okay, so you should have gotten -6. Now, what I was telling everybody in the live room was this. I had my microphone off, I think. You should be able to answer the very first question without even using a piece of paper and a pencil. You should be able to look at this and figure it out. You should know that you're going to move the 7y by subtracting. You should know that you're going to move the 4 by subtracting. 8 minus 7 is 1. And then you have -2 with a -4, which is -6. Now, the second problem you have to set up as an equation. So you're going to have, it costs $150 to rent the bus. It's $34 per student. We don't know how many students there are. So it's $1,000. Subtract 150 first. So you get 34. X equals 850. And then you have to divide 850 by 34. And you can either use a calculator or you could use long division. And no matter what, X equals 25. So there's 25 students that go on this trip. Okay, now, again, don't forget, practice in your workbook on your own. We're doing this again in 2 weeks, February 22nd. So remember, February 22nd, mark it in your calendars or whatever. Make sure that you stay on pace. And please ask me for help. Thank you guys so much.